Hi everyone, today I'm going to be talking about how each MBTI type should best de-stress based on their cognitive functions. So essentially, how to relax when they are overtaxed with work and duties. I apologize in advance because I wrote a script for this and I might be frequently looking down at my laptop to read off of it because there's quite a bit that I compiled. So I'm sorry about that. And also about the lighting too. It's not very good lighting because it's evening. But anyway, how each type should de-stress. For ISFJs, because they can get caught up in their past with their dominant introverted sensing, I think that it's best for them to center themselves in the present. So ISFJs can get caught up in their anxieties for the future because their type functions better with relying on the past. Thus, if they're stressed, it's a good idea for them to center themselves in the present. This way, they won't get too held back by their stressful expectations that they have for themselves. Yoga is a phenomenal way to refocus oneself in the moment, and this could be a beneficial way for the ISFJ to seek that physical awareness that they might be lacking when they're feeling overwhelmed. I think that walking might work best for the ESFJs. It's an activity that can easily be done solitary or in the company of others, which is good for the ESFJ, who loves being with other people, but they're also prone to being so selfless to others that they really need that time to take for themselves, and walking can be done alone or with other people. So it's a good way for the ESFJ to just recuperate after a stressful week. It's versatile. Also, if they're stressed because they aren't paying enough attention to their own mental health, then a stroll outside will be good for them. For the ISFP, it's no secret that they are an iceberg because they show little on the outside, but they have so much depth to them underneath. They amass so many emotions within, so when they're stressed, a creative output might be the solution. They sometimes struggle to get these feelings out since they're so reserved and typically keep their emotions to themselves. They don't really broadcast their hearts on their sleeves. So drawing is a way for them to kind of express these emotions on paper without having to explicitly say it outwards. For the ESFP, they have a dominant extroverted sensing function, so when they're stressed, satiating that function might be a way to relieve some of the pressure for them. So if they kind of fulfill their desire to have adrenaline and fun, this might be the best way for them to recover from feeling overwhelmed. And I think that the best way to do this is running, because running gets out those energies that can come with being cooped up. And I think that ESFP can experience that feeling quite often. For the INFJ, just watching a movie. INFJs can get so in their heads when they're stressed that they need an escape. Their introverted intuition is brilliant at finding patterns in life, but this can also get them caught in a web of stress that can only be relieved by taking a break from it altogether. Coupled with their auxiliary feeling function, I think that INFJs would do well to sit down and watch a movie to de-stress. Escaping reality is not going to prolong the stress for them, but rather temper it so that they can connect with the plights of fictional characters for a few hours before returning with a clear head to their own troubles. For the ENFJ, I'd advise that they get a pet, because they have extroverted feeling as their dominant function, so they naturally are inclined to help others, and this can give them a sense of purpose. And if they're... My dog is barking at my door. Anyway, speaking of pets, whether it's an easy pet to take care of, like a caterpillar or a fish, or a dog that takes a little bit more commitment, I think that having that duty of taking care of another being is a good way for the ENFJ to relieve some of their troubles in life. For the INFP, I think the best way for them to relieve stress is honestly just sitting down and enjoying a good storm, which means that they'd actually have to wait for a storm to come along. It's a stereotype that they do enjoy the aesthetic of a stormy, rainy day, but so far from what I've seen, it's completely true. INFPs love the rain. They love that kind of melancholic weather. Any overwhelmed INFP should detach themselves the next chance they get and just enjoy the atmosphere outside, even if it's just by sitting near an open window. They feel anchored by their awe and inspiration they derive from nature because it rejuvenates their thoughts and gives them something to ponder over. It also helps them to feel balanced, an important attribute considering their dominant function is introverted feeling. So if you're stressed as an INFP, you should take advantage of every rain or storm that comes your way. ENFPs get distracted very easily because of their extroverted intuition, so they should take advantage of this when they're stressed. I think that hanging out with friends is a great way for the ENFP to allow themselves to get distracted. They care about their loved ones so much that having an outing with them is the perfect way to get them away from their stress. After hanging out with friends, they're likely to have successfully distracted themselves, thus making them more apt to return to their work with less of a burden on their minds. ISTJ, I thought that a good way for them to relieve stress is just by driving. It's imperative that they remove themselves from situations that they put too much pressure on themselves in because they are always having their standards so high for themselves. They force themselves to endure so much stress to the point that they get accustomed to the pressure, I think. It's necessary then for the ISTJ to actually leave their workplace, leave wherever they're stressed, and just get away. Especially because they have introverted sensing as their dominant function. If they even took a drive to go visit an old school or an old home, bringing back those memories might be comforting to them, and that could be a really good way for them to take some of the pressure off of their lives. For the ESTJ, just doing chores. Some types do better taking a break from reality to relieve their stress, but I don't think this is the case for the ESTJ. In fact, doing nothing is likely to only stress them out more. Due to their extroverted thinking, they'll do best to perform some sort of efficient chore to distract them from what's on their plate. For example, doing the dishes, or getting groceries, or doing the laundry. This way they're still getting things done, but they're also taking a break from whatever is stressing them out. ISTPs need plenty of alone time to satiate their introverted thinking function, and due to their auxiliary sensing, this often results in an appreciation of nature, I've noticed. So I think kayaking would do really well for an ISTP who is stressed. It's very solitary, but it's also physical activity. The water gives it a quiet place to reflect, and there's also the distraction of paddling, which I think would be very appealing to the ISTP. This is very specific, but I just think that it would work for some reason. I don't know why, it just does. ESTP, eating. But the ESTP does thrive off of stimulating interactions because they love using their five senses. So the best way for them to relieve stress is a way that they can mingle with others whilst indulging their five senses. What better way to complement the senses than with food? It's also a great way for them to hang out with friends and gather with other people because they're very extroverted. So going out for food, going out to a cafe for lunch with friends could be a very good way for them to relieve some of the stress in their lives. For the ENTJ, reading, because the ENTJ is so preoccupied with their own to-do list sometimes that their stress might stem from feeling inadequate, like they haven't fulfilled their own standards for themselves. It's almost impossible for them to feel satisfied because their standards are so very high. Because of this, I think that the best way that they can escape from their own self-imposed measures is to stimulate their quick minds while also providing them an intellectual activity that they'll enjoy because they do pursue knowledge, so I think reading can work very well for them. The INTJ has is similar to the ENTJ, but anyway, I think going to a library could be very good for an INTJ. Whether it's to check out a book, a movie, or just simply go there to study, I think the ambiance of a library is perfectly catered to what the INTJ likes, and I can vouch for this as an INTJ myself. Silence and also an academic environment to hang out in. INTJs do prefer a lack of stimulation due to their inferior extroverted sensing function, so noisy environments will only stress them out further. Due to this, a library, with all of its books and available sources of knowledge, will reduce the INTJ's stress and serve as a meditative place for them to relax. For the INTP, going to a public garden or even a garden in their own backyard. It's not really something you'd expect an INTP to do, go out into a garden, but they do welcome solitude as they're very independent people. So hence, if they're stressed, the best thing for them to do is get away from other people. I don't think that they should simply retreat into their own bedrooms because it's likely that they already spend a lot of time there. Even though their auxiliary function is intuition and not sensing, I think that INTPs can get very caught up in their own thoughts. So if they're focusing on external things that aren't the inside thoughts of their deepest philosophies, this can be very beneficial for them. It gives them a chance to rest and rejuvenate after honestly just over-contemplating everything to the extent that they just need to focus on the outdoors instead of what's keeping them up for hours each night, because I've heard lots of INTPs also have insomnia. So anyway, if you're an INTP and you're feeling very stressed, try going to a garden. And then lastly, the ENTP video games. I chose this one primarily because my brother is an ENTP and I think that video games would help him to relax. But in general, ENTPs are very quick-witted and they tend to have a lot of that hand-eye coordination, which is geared towards video game players. They think very quickly, which is something video games require, and it also appeals to their attention spans, since they're constantly seeking new entertainment due to their extroverted intuition. If an ENTP is overwhelmed, they might be feeling too tied down to responsibilities, so something that catches their attention and is exciting is the best way for them to relax. Ergo, a video game, whether it's Wii or Minecraft or a racing game, could serve them well. 2020 is a very stressful year for all of us. We're all dealing with obstacles we never thought we'd have to hurdle, and we're having to deal with circumstances that have never been posed to us before. So now more than ever is an important time to focus on mental health and take care of yourself. I think that if we can try to make the way that we de-stress more catered to our specific personalities, it might work out better, because it's really hard to de-stress sometimes. So I really hope that this video has helped you. If at all possible, maybe it'll give you some ideas, and I hope you have a really relaxing week as well as a good week, and that you don't let life get you down. That was really corny. But have a good week.